What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Alpha First for another Wednesday episode of Dirty Degens. And today, I'm not alone. And you know what? I think after a day like today, we all need a good dose of therapy. So I brought the doctor in today for Wednesday's stream. We have Ron's Cryptotherapy with us. Ron, how are you doing today?
What's up, Josh? Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I'm doing okay. Feeling like everybody. Well, I don't feel like everybody else out here in the market, but it's tumultuous times to say the least.
Yeah, it's definitely turbulent. I mean, we've been ranging up and down for I feel like 3 months now, in the same
It has
exact
been three
channel.
months. Yeah.
Yeah, just wicking everybody out up and down. It's getting tiring. People are getting bored, losing interest, but not us.
No, I actually like for it to range longer, and I say this on some of my streams sometimes. The longer it ranges, the bigger the breakout. So that's kind of a rule of thumb by the book. I was talking about my last stream, like it's one of Wyckoff's laws of markets. The longer the as long as it's an accumulation, as long as it's accumulating, then once it breaks out, the bigger and longer and stronger the breakout will be. So
Yep.
that's why I'm all for it to range. But in crypto, the thing that's unfortunate is when BTC ranges like this, the longer it ranges, normally the weaker alts get and the more they bleed. So that is a little unfortunate.
Yeah, and we're definitely starting to see more and more of that. Actually,
Yeah.
all things considered, Bitcoin's actually holding up pretty well.
Yeah. Bitcoin looks good. I mean, relatively speaking, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, and there's a good handful of vaults that are doing well, but everything else is just falling more and more. Every time Bitcoin takes a dip, it dips harder and doesn't come back. So
Yeah.
I think that's what's got a lot of people upset right now.
Yeah. In these conditions, you'll get little narrative pumps and some good news pumps here and there. I know like BNB is doing good right now. You'll get a few things like even the AI agent, but little boom or whatever. That was why this ranging period. So and you'll have those little things, but by and large, total three is going to go down for the most part. The longer BTC ranges.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll ask you before we get into other stuff. Do you think the
Mhm.
top's in?
No, no.
I
I think
didn't
we're
think
just getting
so.
started, to be honest. And I'm for people who aren't familiar with me, I'm far from a permable. I really try to be as objective as possible. Um, but I look at it more as like we're just getting started in this cycle, more so than like a top. I mean, if you want to compare some numbers to like the previous market cycle, just the last one, two things you can look at is the gain from the bottom to top, and another thing I think that's relevant is the all time high to now. Um, and last market cycle, it was about a 21x from bottom to top, and this cycle we're at like a 6 or 7x from bottom to top. So that was still, and I know every cycle the gains get lower, but I still think that it suggests that there's more to go. And also, the previous all time high to now, I mean, we're like 50% above that. It's not even an X to where last time I think it was 3.5x between the all time highs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I see people calling for, I mean, actually, I think it was Fidelity just yesterday called for 200K Bitcoin this year. So there's still some aggressive predictions out
Mhm.
there. I'm not, I think we're far from the top, but I also don't think we're going to see like a $500,000 Bitcoin this year or something like that.
No, I think that assuming we have a proper bull market, actually a pretty a good target is 230. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
That's
I
a solid
and
number.
and I'm not just like pulling that number out of thin. There's a reason where I came up to that number, but I'm not married to anything. I'm not really a target guy. I'll put out like some numbers like that for fun, but in no way, shape, or form am I married to 230. I'm a price action guy. I feel like I'll know it when I see it. You know, I'll know the top when I see it, and I knew that I called the top of last cycle and the bottom of the bear cycle. And people that follow me can confirm that. 69, I said this is it, and at 15, I said this is it.
Yeah. And it's only suiting that for crypto, the top last cycle was 69, right? I mean, it's got to be.
Mm-hmm.
But
It
maybe
was
we,
69 420 actually.
yeah. Absolutely perfect. No, and actually, that's a good thing to bring up. My bad, that's my fault there. But you want to introduce yourself a little bit to the crowd, those that may not know you. I've known you for about a year now, actually. So I let that slip. But obviously, you've got a very good track record in crypto. Otherwise, I wouldn't be bringing you on the show with me. So why don't you go ahead and let people know where they can find you and what makes your calls so special?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Josh. So I met Josh, or know him through Chuck. I was one of the people who on the Chuck team, the meme coin Chuck. And Josh had found it, and a lot of the community raiding the streams, and I reached out to him, and we kind of have been in contact ever since. So that's how we met, and I've been in crypto a long time. I'm huge into crypto. I don't even know how many YouTube videos I watch every day, and just always keeping up with the news. I'm really plugged into the space, and just a Bitcoin enthusiast. I mean, I'm an altcoin, I'm a shit coiner, degen. I mean, that's where the bigger gains can be made at. But I'm a big Bitcoin enthusiast. I really believe in Bitcoin itself. And you can follow me on X. I have a YouTube channel too. My YouTube's so saturated. I don't have the biggest following on YouTube, but I got a pretty decent following on Twitter. And I have a Telegram too. I run a paid Telegram. If anybody's interested in that, just hit me up. We do a lot of different things in there. But yeah, definitely give me a follow on Twitter and YouTube. I'm dual streaming this, so it should be pretty easy to find.
Yeah, and you can also find actually, yeah, I don't think I did put you in the tweet. That's my fault. I'll fix that. But you can find Ron's link to his Twitter in the description of the video as well. So easy to find there. I didn't forget that. I had about 20 minutes between my last call and stream started, and I forgot to set up YouTube, so I was like rushing through.
Oh, no, that's all good. And kind of like you had a partner with Josh, I kind of have a partner, a guy named Danny the Bull, and me and him, we kind of work together as partners and make a good team.
Yeah, it helps make things a little bit smoother, huh?
Yeah, we don't have a cool name like Dirty Degens. Maybe we need to come up with one. But yeah, he's real good with fundamental analysis and math. He's like making spreadsheets on things. Like one thing I like he did a lot. You hear about the market being oversaturated a lot, too many alts, too many coins and stuff like that. And he made a really good spreadsheet showing from market cycle to market cycle. Like if you look at the top 750 coins and like the gains and like they diminish every time some, but kind of in a sense to me anyway, kind of disputing the coin saturation theory. But anyway, he's really good at stuff like that. And I'm really good at technical analysis. So we work pretty good together, I think.
Speak of the devil, Danny's down there.
Yep.
Love Danny. Danny's awesome. I might have to bug him about that spreadsheet. It sounds super interesting. But
I might have it up on my computer. Mike can bring it up here. I'll look in a minute.
Okay. But yeah, since we were talking about is the top in or not, everybody loves to pull this up. And I do too, because I'm part of everybody. What do you think about this chart? The psychology of a market cycle, right? Everybody likes to say that, no, we're still down here in disbelief. We're going to go up to the moon. We've got 10X still left in the bag, right? But if we're being a little bit more realistic, I would probably put us more between like optimism, belief, maybe even up towards thrill with how much Bitcoin's already gone up. Of course, we know that typically how the cycle will work is you get your top at Bitcoin and then you rotate into alts and those explode even more than before. But where would you see us on the current cycle?
I'm obviously familiar with this. A lot of people posted over the years, and I don't necessarily see it like a direct like to this chart. I try to compare it to former Bitcoin cycles and see what makes the most sense. Because the cycles rhyme, they don't repeat. And one thing I noticed in this last bear cycle is that everyone was saying there's going to be another dump or whatever. Like it has a double bottom. Like the previous two cycles had double bottom, but nothing has to happen. Bottom line, like end of story, like nothing has to happen in these markets. Everything's a game of probability when it comes to this stuff. And, when it hit 15K, I was like, this is the bottom. But then, at that point, I didn't know if it was going to double bottom or not. But I trusted what I was seeing on chart, and everyone was married to that double bottom. Like they're waiting to buy because it's going to go lower. I mean, some people still say it's going to go lower than 15K and 12K and stuff like that. And you just kind of have to trust what you're seeing, and just real quick, like side note, I got my name Ron's Crypto Therapy from a guy. He's got a small YouTube channel. His name's John's Crypto Therapy, and he's the best trader I know. He doesn't really care about YouTube or whatever. He just makes some videos on a crypto called Omi every now and then. But he's like so good. He used to be an institutional trader. And he kind of took me under his wing a little bit several years ago, and kind of schooled me, showed me how institutions look at things and stuff like that. And one thing that he taught me above all else that stuck with me is trust your analysis and what you're saying and what you see. Don't worry about, whatever, all this stuff. And since then, all the books I've read and stuff like that, the news is really more of a manipulation tool. So I really try not to block out the news as much. I'm aware of it. I think you need to be aware of it, but I don't really go off the news. I go off what I'm seeing on chart. But the point was what I was making is when it comes to the bear market, everyone was kind of married to that. It has to do this. Like the last cycle was fresh in their head. And that's what I'm kind of seeing now, that the last cycle was really fresh in people's heads. And they're talking about selling in May and going away. And that may be okay to do. But I don't think it's going to repeat. Even most notable market analysts and respectable people out there say that this mimics more the 2017 cycle than the 2021 cycle, which the 2017 cycle didn't double top. It was pretty much just like a trend up for a long time. And that's what we're seeing here with Bitcoin, more or less. So I feel like a lot of people are kind of married to that, because when they look back, they're like, okay, I could have just, it would have made more sense to just get out the market in the spring and not hang around for the whole bull market. And you still would have made great gains, maybe not as much as you would have stayed in, to the fall. But you know what? This is wearing on me, all this pain and volatility. I just want out. I want to sell my back. And I do too. Just make no mistake, I do too. But I'm also not going to shortchange myself. I'm not married to anything. I'm going to keep looking what's on chart. And I feel so here, and I guess we talked about this earlier. I'll share my screen if that's cool, Josh.
Yeah, of course.
And I'll show some people kind of how I'm looking at this a little bit.
Oh, wrong button. There we go. Nope. Yeah.
All right, that's BTC dominance. We can come back and talk about that too. And I think what I'm going to, it makes a lot of sense to me, because we talk about these things rhyme, they don't repeat. And just going back to the bottom of this cycle, we didn't have to double bottom. It needs to form some kind of bullish pattern, but it did that, a big head and shoulders. So, it didn't have to double bottom. And then what was up here, and even when it was going up here, people were still talking that it was, not, we were going to go to 15K or 12K or whatever the case is. Yeah. But so in 2019, we had a really strong bear market rally. If you say like this was the breakout right here, this candle is kind of when it got started. We're looking at the weekly here, over 300% gain in 2019 bear market rally. So what I'm kind of thinking is that this right here, this move here, for this cycle was this move here, this move for breaking the 30Ks up here. And like I said, these things rhyme. They're not going to be the same. So don't say, well, that's obviously not the same thing. Well, so you got this parabolic. So, okay, for one, they were like 4 years and a few months apart. So time-wise, they were pretty close. And then you got this parabolic run up. And then it ranged for a very long time. All right, I know the COVID low is here. And I also want to point out the COVID low was not the low of the cycle, because people are always talking about the COVID low this, the COVID low that. It wasn't even low of the cycle. And I would say it's fair that most people consider this a black swan event. All right, so if that's a black swan event, then you can't predict it, and it's not something that you can count on repeating. So I feel like Bitcoin kind of had this parabolic leg up and then ranged for a really long time before it wanted to break out into the the bull market. So I kind of feel that's what this breakout here, good kind of, if you want to call it parabolic leg up, then a long ranging period. I feel like this matches this over here. Like normally when you look at Bitcoin cycles and stuff like that, it's almost like a lot of people don't even start counting what happened until it broke the previous all-time high, Right. So we've barely done that. I don't count, I know we broke technically, the all-time high before the halving over here. I don't really count that, it's front run the halving, ETFs, whatever. But it didn't hold price. It didn't like hold above that and consolidate and trade above it. For the most part, it was trading below it and right there at it, consolidating at it. So I feel like if you, and not financial advice, how this game goes, but if you look at this move here more as a bear market rally and matches that move over there, then I think things starting to make a lot more sense. I think things fall into place better. And like we're just getting the first leg and breakout out of the all-time high. This is like the first leg in the bull market. I actually think the bull market could be huge. And like I said, I'm not married to 230K. I'm not saying that, for sure everything's going to go to Valhalla, but I think it's a good chance that this could be a really big bull market.
Yeah, and it's shaping up that way, especially with institutions and nation states and everybody getting involved. It's going to have a huge impact on the supply. And everybody, we've been talking about the supply shock that's coming, and that's going to absolutely send Bitcoin's price. But nobody believes it's actually there yet, or that it's even real for that matter. But they're going to sit there and they're going to believe that until it actually happens. When you have institutions and Saylor going and buying OTC, that's when people are going to be like, okay, I believe it. And we can't even predict what that will result into for the price,
Yes. So I'm going to, something that I had saved the other day. 1 second.
No problem. While you're doing that, we did get a couple super chats. I never know how to say his name, but he's always showing up. I'm going to call him W3. $5. Thanks for your support on Chuck Josh. Ron's a legend. PG is worth every penny. Hey, I love the Telegram. I don't get to talk in there as much as I want to, but Ron is indeed a legend. And yeah, definitely check out Ron and his Telegram. And I love me some Chuck too. And also Chester threw a $10 super chat. He refuses to miss the bull run. Bearish divergences do not matter to him. He'll never forgive himself if he pulls out now and we mooned. Stay strong, friends. Alts will have their day. I fully agree.
Yeah, I'm not a big, like if you're talking about an RSI divergence, I know so many people get wrecked off trying to go off of an RSI divergence. And we've been waiting for, and I think a lot of the people watching the stream and everything like that, they've been in the market a while, and you've been waiting for this 2025. This is the year, if the past is any indication of what's to come, and people are so quick to talk about tapping out or calling it a day or this time, you've waited for this for a long time. At this point, it's either Valhalla or McDonald's for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Imagine waiting until the final year of the bull run or of the cycle, and that's when you call it quits,
Yeah, and if it pumps and goes parabolic and all these things, you'll never be able to forgive yourself.
No.
Yeah. But just this right here, I seen this the other day. I mean, this is just what BlackRock and MicroStrategy, or Strategy now, I guess they're called, have bought since the middle of November, thereabouts. So, I mean, I know it's OTC, but it's still Bitcoin that's not hitting the spot market. It still helps support the price. And a few other things that I found interesting. 1 second.
No problem. I'm trying to see if
this was too. Yeah, this was showing how much Grayscale and Germany sold, and how much was mined, and then how much was sold by everybody else. So like it's only like 150,000 difference what everyone else sold compared to what Grayscale and Germany sold. And I think Grayscale, like the people that got the Grayscale discount and wanted to sell, I think for the most part that they're all I think they've all sold or whatever. Then the last one from HODL Capital that I thought was relevant was it shows here that like wallet addresses between, that small amount of BTC, the smaller amounts, up to 10 BTC and then up to, 100 plus, you can see over the last 90 days, the smaller wallets have been selling, the bigger wallets have been buying. So I don't know. You do the math. Who do you think's right? The big wallets or the small wallets? Probably the big ones. So
Probably the smart money, I would have to say.
probably. I mean, just because you're a whale doesn't mean that you're, you know what you're doing. But I would more likely follow the big wallets than the small ones.
Yeah. And just to add on to that a little bit more too, I came across this post here the other day, and this is as of the beginning of February, I believe. And there's currently only 140,000 Bitcoin left on the OTC market. And like you had just shown, in 1 month, MicroStrategy alone bought 75,000. So if they do this again this month, we're out of OTC Bitcoin in a matter of a month and a half, 2 months, and that's not even including ETF buys or government buys or state buys, etc. So we're getting to that point of inflection where people are going to realize that there is a supply shock, and they're going to see the results of it.
I saw something else today because you see all these states proposing Bitcoin reserve bills, and somebody did the math, like what they thought, how much buying pressure that would add to the market. And it was in the billions for sure. I can't remember the exact number, but, and so this can also kind of relate to why alts haven't popped off as much as they should have. I mean, a lot of them are weak and a lot of them at lows and stuff like that. I know that's not good, but why would money be rolling out of Bitcoin just yet if Bitcoin looks like it's going to keep going up? So keep that in mind. Bitcoin, because you see that from a lot of people, not just us saying it, that a lot of alt charts look bad, but Bitcoin still looks good. So as long as you think Bitcoin is going to continue along with its cycle, and that's why I look at Bitcoin so much. At this point in the game, I got a lot more alts than Bitcoin, but I look at Bitcoin every day, and when I wake up and look at that, because as long as Bitcoin is going to go up, then we should be okay.
Yeah, and that's one thing I try to tell people a lot of times too is the market's cyclical, right? It starts with Bitcoin, and then it goes into altcoins, and then it goes into your super low caps or your memes and things like that, right? The more risky, degenerate plays and whatnot.
Yeah. Used to roll into Ethereum. We'll see if it does that again. I don't know.
Ethereum's looking bad. I think Vitalik's putting the nails in the coffin himself.
Well, the ETH Foundation isn't going to sell anymore.
Allegedly.
No, it has to do with like they're borrowing off of Aave now or something like that.
Oh,
has something to do with
Yep. I know exactly. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I don't get why they just didn't do that in the first place. Support the protocol, support your network, and also not have to sell your ETH. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, they're out of touch for sure. Hopefully they finally are listening to some people and doing some things that make sense. Now, and I've talked about ETH a lot. I made a pretty long Twitter thread about ETH. So what I'm about to say might sound a little silly, but like ETH actually hasn't done as bad at this market cycle as what you might would think. And I can explain that. So from its bottom to its top, ETH has done like a 370% gain, Bitcoin a 600% gain. I mean, that's not that, like, for profits not to be rolling off in Bitcoin. Now, the difference is to market structure. ETH has topped that, like hit it to like, up there and around the area of its previous all-time high, I think twice, maybe 3 times, where Bitcoin's been in a constant uptrend. But ETH has been more consolidating for a long time. But it hasn't, from the bottom, if you measure from the bottom to the top, it's not as bad as if it would seem. And also, for last cycle, as well as ETH did, and with the success that it's had, people are grouping ETH more with Bitcoin. Like it was very common narrative last cycle. People debating, is ETH going to get a bigger market cap than Bitcoin? I'm sure you remember that. So people have ETH more thinking of in terms of like Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is the market leader. It's leading the way, not ETH. So ETH is an altcoin at the end of the day. And if you look at the top 20 altcoins, I don't know about BNB now, it going up recently, but excluding, I'm not sure about BNB, but only one had broken its all-time highs and went into price discovery, and that was Tron. The rest of them hadn't done that at all. Solana's had great success this cycle, and they've made a new all-time high, but they haven't gotten to price discovery. They haven't traded above that and accepted the price. XRP the same way. I don't even think XRP has made a new all-time. So some of these, if you look at it in relation to alts and their previous all-time highs, none of them have really done that, with very few exceptions, larger ones. Anyway, so if you look at ETH more, it's just like an altcoin and not something that should compete with Bitcoin, then it makes a little more sense as well, I think.
Yeah, no, that does make sense when you look at it that way. I mean, I guess I've stopped paying so much attention to ETH just because I do a lot of trading on chain specifically, and there's just so many better places to trade. And ultimately, when we're doing that, we want to follow where the volume is, anyways. And if the volume's not on ETH, I don't want to trade there. So,
Yeah.
that, and I got kind of turned off from ETH too with one of their last upgrades. I won't get into that, but they tried to help the layer twos instead of themselves. That just doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, it's a shit coin, no doubt about it. ETH sucks. It's slow and expensive, and Solana's fast and cheap. I mean, what do you think's going to win?
And that's why we see stuff like this, Franklin Templeton, if I can find the right button over here. Nope, that's not the right one. Franklin Templeton, they're launching a money market fund on Solana. If that was, the case, they would launch on ETH, right? I do think that ETH still has a place in the space and that it's going to be around and everything. I don't see it though in 5-10 years at the second spot anymore, though. I think it will fall.
I mean, I think the answer for ETH has to be their layer twos. Because if layer twos keep getting on top of ETH and building ecosystems, and it's almost like ETH is cemented under that, and that's how they can protect their longevity. But the level twos just haven't performed well. And I know there's some talk now, like maybe they should consolidate or something like that. I mean, that would be great, but that's not going to happen. I mean, Base does okay, but Arbitrum, whatever happened, it's one of the best of the rest, but there's nothing going on in Arbitrum. I mean, Polygon, which is a side chain, it's not a layer two, but still, man, when I was screening new projects coming out, Polygon's so dead, rugs don't even come out on Polygon. And then their ZK rollup was a huge flop. I don't even know an exchange that accepts that chain. Blast, that was a lot of hype around that. It just flopped. Manta, there was a lot of hype around Manta, and this does nothing. Optimism, I mean, maybe there's a little bit going on Optimism. I mean, name a meme coin on Optimism or Arbitrum or Polygon, they're just not materializing like they should. And,
I don't want to talk about memes on Polygon. I round tripped a 6-figure bag.
Ooh.
But no, you're very right. Like, actually, probably back early before November, it might even been like more like August or so. There were people that were trying to make a meme push in Arbitrum, and it just wasn't going anywhere. People are only using Arbitrum for DeFi protocols. They're not going there to trade meme coins or anything like that. That's not what the attention is there. And it's a lot of people just don't get it. It's too complicated for them. And that's what Coinbase tried to solve with Base. But at the same time, that's not really working out a ton either. And you've got, personal experience with that, with trying to bring volume to Base chain. And it's just hard to get people to change chains, especially when it's easy for them. Like now you can open up a Phantom wallet and you can straight up buy Solana or even ETH if that's what you want to do, with Apple Pay. And there you go. Now you can do everything you want. The problem is if you're using ETH, then you've got to go into the browser and you've got to know all the sites and everything. But if you're using the built-in swap, yeah, you can trade shit coins all day.
Yeah, I feel like, it's fair to say Phantom is the wallet of Solana and MetaMask is kind of the wallet of ETH. And going in this cycle, Phantom was it was like built to onboard normies and ease of use and all these kinds of things. And I mean, I know you can do ETH and Base or whatever and Polygon or whatever on Phantom, but it's still kind of known as the Solana wallet. And another thing with ETH, that is kind of some speculation that all the fees that Coinbase gets from the Base chain, they just dump it. So that adds a lot of sell pressure as well. So now the layer twos are like working against you than for you.
I wonder if I can find that really quick, because I saw the same thing that you're talking about. And actually the post I saw anyways had a trading view chart and had all of their sells marked out on it. And it's just like daily sells repeatedly. And that's one of the downfalls I kind of saw with Base originally, was them not having their own token, right? They don't have to care as much.
Yeah, well, I think that can be a good thing too. Although you're not as worried about their regulatory stuff as much now. I mean, Arbitrum has no utility at all. They use ETH for the gas on these layer twos. You know, with Polygon, at least they use their coin for the gas because it's a side chain, not a layer two.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it can be a good thing for Base, but I mean a good thing for ETH that Base doesn't have a good, or even for Base that it doesn't have its own coin. I mean, Base, I think most would say that after Solana, Base is probably going to be the second most successful chain this cycle.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And we are actually seeing a little pop on Ethereum right now. That's likely due to this here. More ETF stuff. 21 Shares wants to add staking to its Ethereum ETFs. That'll probably get approved. I see that getting approved.
Now that Gensler's gone. And we've been looking forward to that. That's no secret in the market with, you know, that once that happens, you know, because big money, especially boomers, like they'll love that yield. It'll remind them of stock dividends, getting the yield on ETH, holding the ETF. So that can definitely help ETH out for sure.
Yeah, that might actually be. I mean, if every ETF went and did that, that could potentially change things, because then you'll see like institutions want to hold Bitcoin because of store value. They understand the cycle, yada yada. But if Ethereum also offered something in that sense, I could see them buying it, because if you look at the difference between the Bitcoin ETF flow versus Ethereum ETF flow, it's like, it's absolutely insane. It's like NASCAR versus Pee-wee's, go-kart racing or something.
But it's been better for ETH. It's been getting better for ETH for sure. And another thing to point out about that is when the ETFs got approved, so Bitcoin's got approved in January, everybody who had the Grayscale discount, I mean, we know obviously Grayscale sold a lot, but it's not Grayscale. Sounds like people in the ETF who had the discount are taking advantage because they, you know, whatever. So the same thing happened with ETH, but the ETH ETF got approved like 3-4 months later, whatever it was. So that lasted longer. It was still going on with people selling the ETH discount, taking advantage of that. So and I think now at this point, that's probably pretty much done, so that hopefully Grayscale won't continue to suppress ETH.
Yeah, and that's one of my concerns too. Like yesterday, we had a good pump off of Cardano, and for the same reason, Grayscale and a couple other people, they want to go launch Cardano ETFs. And it's like, it's every time Grayscale comes out with an ETF, are themselves and all their bag holders just waiting to unload it because they haven't been able to, you know, and probably, if I had to guess.
Yeah, so if Grayscale, if they come out with a Cardano ETF and there's not other ETFs, I don't know. I would worry a little bit about lots of selling from Grayscale and then no other ETFs there to like soak it up and help buy it. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to, it's a wait and see. I think we're going to see a lot of ETFs approved this year. The administration just being so positive. And then, you know, there's stuff like this coming out repeatedly. Recently, this one's JP Morgan about how their exposure to Bitcoin ETFs has grown a ton. The other day was, I can't remember which bank it was, but it was just like this week. You know, so as more and more of these financial institutions secure their place and they're happy with it and they're starting to talk about it, then we'll see more and more of them get approved and they can go get into those, because the big money gets to get situated and then we get our piece of the pie.
Yeah. And the other day, Eric Balkunas, he posted that he put the likelihood of altcoin ETFs to be approved: 1 Litecoin, 2 Doge, 3 Solana, and 4 XRP in that order. I would have thought Solana, XRP, Litecoin, and Doge, but he knows more than I do for sure. He's like the ETF guy. If you're not familiar with him, he's like the leading reporter on all that.
Yeah, he does some great stuff. I didn't see the post you're talking about, but I can probably find this one quick. It was basically him talking about the odds, so the percentage odds for the different. This one was James Safehart. They work together, so I guess kind of the same, but not the same. Pulling it in here. And he's got the same thing too, though. Like you said, Litecoin, you know, most likely. And that surprised me as well. Everybody's like, you know, if Bitcoin's gold, Litecoin's silver. Who's buying Litecoin?
Dead chain. It is not silver. It's more like lead. But I think they like to go as proof of work or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, ultimately. So it's a little bit interesting. I definitely I foresaw like you said, XRP, Solana, Doge, Litecoin, maybe, sure, whatever. I guess since it's applied for, may as well put it in the list.
Yeah, H bar. I don't know. I can only name one coin that I would, and I'm not even big on it. That's on H bar. Karate is on H bar. Other than that, I don't know what's happening. I don't know anything that happens on H bar. I don't know any memes on H bar. I don't know any development. I've had some kind of techie smart devs tell me that H bar is good. Kind of the same people who like ADA. They say like the tech is good on it. I mean, that's great and everything like that. But if you don't have user engagement, if you don't have communities getting excited about it and stuff like that, I mean, what do you have? Polkadot, another huge. I mean, huge. Polkadot is a big no for me. I mean, I liked it last cycle. I thought the tech was good and all this interoperability stuff. They have just been a big flop in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm not a Polkadot fan at all myself. Actually, last year I went to a ton of conferences. At one of them, there was a massive Polkadot booth, and decided to interview him. And we asked him something like, what's coming up that holders should be excited about? And he was like, "Oh, we don't care about that." And I was like, "Yep, don't like you anymore."
I heard they're really trying to get into gaming, but I haven't seen any gaming projects on Polkadot. I mean, I know of like one or two, but like I haven't seen like some big push or anything like gaming on Polkadot. I don't know. It's inflationary too, and I don't know. Just been a big flop in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those like that. If you're setting aside a bag that you don't want to touch for a while, and you just want like dividends off of it, they've got a good,
Staking.
okay, yeah, they've got an okay staking reward. But the problem is the price of the coin needs to go up too. If it goes down, you just even out anyways. So
yeah, and it's because it's inflationary. That's why they have such good staking.
yeah. Yeah, Polkadot's something I don't see anybody talking about. I liked him a little bit back in 2021 when I was seeing like kind of the Cosmo universe take form. I thought maybe Polkadot might do the same, but now we're not even seeing the Cosmo universe do good except for outside of Injective. So they're both kind of falling flat on their heads. Layer zeros aren't sexy. What comes out of them is maybe.
Yeah, the parachain thing, it just never materialized.
No, but I think it's going to be really interesting. It's kind of I think that the ETFs for some of these altcoins, they could be a trigger for an altcoin season because they'll bring a lot of attention. But I also look at them the same way as I look at kind of the institutions and governments and everybody that's looking to get into Bitcoin. It's just much more liquidity that's going to enter the market. And ultimately, it's good over time. It may be bad initially, like if it's Grayscale and they dump a ton, but over time, it will even out and the flows will pick up to the upside. Right.
I think it depends on when it happens and when they start trading. If it's later in the year, it could actually mark like a top potentially. Yep. And I know we talked about the news a little bit, and then earlier in the stream I said, I really don't go off the news. I try to go off charts and show, but you need to be aware of the news. So there's like all these bullish things brewing and stuff like that, and it's not that I'm going off of that necessarily, but it's once things start happening and then people are bullish after they happen, that's more like top signals, not that. So in reverse of the bear, if you think about like where we're at in terms of where we're in the bear market, I feel we're kind of like when Bitcoin was at 36K going down. And the reason I say that, so it held that level a while because it had a lot of volume and price history at 36K. So it was holding on that level, but like the bearish news was just all around you, and to where it was kind of just like, this thing is not going to hold at 36K. It's too heavy. And you knew it from a news standpoint. And it finally did break that. And then, it was free for all or whatever. That's kind of how I feel in reverse it is now. Like the writing's on the walls, all these things happening around you and stuff like that. And it's only a matter of time before it breaks out and has a run to the upside.
That's exactly how I feel too. A lot of people have been asking me, like, where do I see the market turning? When are we going to see an upside? And ultimately, I think everything is just held back by a barrier of regulation and acceptance, right? Once we get another glimpse of acceptance and some clearer regulation, maybe some more approvals, whatever, then everybody will take a deep breath and be ready to move forward again. It's like, Trump was coming into office. Everybody got super excited because everywhere he's talking, he's like, America's going to be the crypto hub of the world, blah, blah, blah. And then he gets into office and we haven't seen anything yet. right? It's been a lot of empty promises so far, and I think that's just got people frustrated more than anything. But once we get some
Quantitative easing
clarity,
later in the year.
yeah,
Quantitative easing later in the year and rate cuts. And that's happens like even if Jerome Powell sticks to his word, which there's nothing saying he has to do that. They can cut rates, next FOMO. They're not going to do that, I don't think, but he can change his tune real quick. But even so, they cut him in the summer. Okay, well, if you're in the belief the 4-year cycle and it's going to run into the end of the year or later in the year, that's perfect. And M2 money supply coincides with that, and it should be going up towards the end of the year, and global liquidity and all these things. I think a lot is pointing to the end of the year. And even though a lot of people are talking about they want to sell their bags in May, I think that the top will come later this year. And it's not, I don't want that. I want to sell them, man. I want to be done with all these alt bags. Trust me, but it is what it is. I'll make the rules. I think it's going to go on until the end of the year.
Yeah. So you think we're more of like a Q3, Q4 before everything starts picking up again?
Yeah. It wouldn't even surprise me if altcoins roll over in like Q1 of 2026, even a lot of them.
Oh, yeah. So how do you feel about about super cycle? Do you think we're going to see a super cycle, or is it too early to tell, or no chance?
I wouldn't say no chance. I do think this could be a big cycle. It could even be like maybe Bitcoin gets better, like when I was talking about from his previous all-time high or from his market low. Those numbers could even be better than last cycle. You had a lot of money printing, but you also had COVID going on, the pandemic and stuff. And a lot of people thought we weren't going to have a cycle because of that. So I do think it could actually be a big cycle. I can if you want me to show why I think 230 could be a level or a price that Bitcoin hits. It's pretty simple how I come up with that. All right. So just to explain a little bit, like previous all-time highs, they definitely matter. Let me go to the Bitcoin index chart. This is like the history of Bitcoin. I got a lot of stuff written up here. Just disregard that. But all right, 2017 all-time high. We talk about it's just like a parabolic uptrend, and it was a blow-off top, more or less. It's not what you saw last cycle where you made a top ranging / distributing. And then Bitcoin took a 50% chop, a little more than that. And you got the double top where it spent significant time at this high. If you count over here, and this is a high volume period, it built up a significant level of price history. That's not what you had here.
You're on the weekly chart, so everybody knows this is weekly. So that is a month at both of those tops. A month plus on at the first one.
Yeah, I might have it written up there. So that 12 bars, that's several months.
Yeah.
To where it went down. That's like almost 3 months. And I mean, not all of it is right there at the 64K, because I think this top was 64, yeah, and this one was a little higher. And then over here it was still over a month, probably close to 2 months. So it built up a lot of price history. To where here it did not build up price history at all. It went up here and then bam. That's why when you went up here in that cycle, we didn't stall there like we did this time, because there wasn't the price history there. It was easier to break through. I mean, you had some resistance there, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't like this at all. So the fact that we had this period where it built up a lot of price history and a lot of volume, a lot of stuff like that, and then you had this long, like 7-month, 8-month ranging period at that level. If we get a proper bull market, and things go up, we get legs up like we've seen in the past, and all that works out, I don't think it's going to go back below 70K again. Ever. I mean, barring some kind of black swan or something like that. So if you say like, okay, 70K, the lowest it'll go for the bear market. So just say Bitcoin's had 80% drops. Just say, okay, it's not going to be 80% this time. It's going to be 70%. And that's what you get, that's where I get that number from. Because if you had a 70% drop down to 70K, then that would be 230.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, that does make sense. And I totally agree with you on not going under 70 again. Heck, I might even say higher, but I'm not trying to argue about that specifically. But I mean, we
Yeah,
just had the biggest liquidation event in history for Bitcoin.
that's another thing. And the biggest liquidation event in Bitcoin's history, and this is the candle, this like little red doji.
Right.
That's uh, um, but that's the top of the market. Now, if it was some long wick or some big green candle and it was getting immediate selling after that, then sure, maybe I could get with that. But not. This was the biggest liquidation in Bitcoin's history. Like I don't know. And what you said, like it may even be higher than 70K that it comes back down to. Totally, it could be 100. I don't know. And like I said, I'm not married to those numbers. But playing around with this stuff, I think that's something that kind of makes sense. And then also that would put Bitcoin at about if I think it was like a little less than the total gain from last cycle, like from the all-time high at 3.5x. I think that puts it just over 3x, but not up to 3.5x. So you get a diminishing return. But if you look at all the news and all the catalysts surrounding this market cycle compared to last cycle, I think it's reasonable to think that you could have a similar gain in that regard to last cycle from all-time high to all-time high. And then from market cycle to bottom, that still puts you less than you were last cycle in terms of multiples. So I know 230 sounds like a fairly high price. And like I said, I'm not married to that. I'm not saying, oh yeah, we're going to 230. I'm not selling anything till we get to 230. But it's fun to project out and speculate about these things. And that's a price that I could see possible, based off some of these things we're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean that's right in line with a lot of people that I talk to as well. I mean, even George, for example, I believe his target's somewhere around like 250, and he doesn't do TA, so it's still right in line there, basically. Yeah, I mean, none of us know where it's going to go, of course, but I definitely think we'll break 100K, the 100,000 range, so into the 200,000s. But I'm just here for the ride. One of the things I like to tell people is taking profit on the way up. You don't try to time the market. You work with the market, right? When the price goes down, I buy a little bit more. When the price goes up, I take a little off the table.
Especially with altcoins. With BTC, I think technical analysis works really well. But with altcoins, you just don't know who's holding what, all these things, team, token. Like there's so many factors and variables. I mean, TA is all you really can look at. But I've told people when they've asked me, like, what's some signs to like start seeing it to sell alts? If you're later in the cycle and the alt you're holding is printing big green candles, start, maybe taking profit. And then if you get a weekly candle with a decent wick to the upside or a bear candle with a decent body closing towards its low, those can be signals. Those can be signs. And that's when the hopium starts to set in for a lot of people, because they, especially here's what happens to people, how they end up bag holding. You have some holding whatever asset and it goes up a lot, and you have some unrealized balance of just 100,000, 200, whatever it is, and then you get that first red candle, and now your unrealized, just say, is now not, instead of 100, it's 70. You look at that as losing $30,000 almost. You're like, no, I want the 100K, but when it gets back up there, I'm going to sell again. And it doesn't get back up there. And you still, now the 70K is 50K, and you're even more disgruntled. And eventually you're like, well, you know what? If I just hold this, till next cycle, then it'll get up there and probably more. So at this point, I might as well just hold it. And that's what happens with people and how they make it right with themselves.
Yep. And then it dies in the bear market and it never comes back, and you're stuck holding that bag.
Yeah. So not everything comes back, for sure. That's, I've told people during the bear market, not everything is going to come back.
Yeah.
Some things will, for sure, but not everything will come back.
Definitely. And that is actually a good transition because, actually, I haven't gotten to talk to you about it before either, but obviously not everybody wants to buy Bitcoin. A lot of people feel like it's too expensive now. They don't want a 2X. They want that 10. They want that 15, 30, 40, whatever goes on. What are some of your favorite altcoin picks for this cycle? Like, they can be alts, they can be memes, they can be total shit coins. I don't care.
Yeah, for sure. So if you like, I like to go by narrative, and also what chains I think do good. I think you had seen that early in the cycle that like things hop from like ecosystem to ecosystem. Like gaming pumps on Solana. I'm just using random examples. Pump on Solana, then like the next week, it's like AVAX gaming or whatever. So I think you're seeing some of that this cycle. And by narrative, I think AI is the top narrative this cycle. And I'm still going to hold on to that gaming is number two, although gaming has been weak. Now, it came out the gate strong this cycle last October. Gaming came out really strong. But since then, and the bad thing about a lot of these token gaming projects is the token dilution. That's one reason I like Medicaid a lot. And then, full disclosure, I'm a Medicaid ambassador and stuff like that. But I like the reason I was shilling Medicaid from day one. Like I've always liked that project. Like it's good quality and the team is super active and there's no token dilution. And when you compare it to other gaming projects, I only know like maybe one other one that doesn't have token dilution like that. So anyway, I think that AI gaming, RWA will be the top three. Memes, I don't know. I think it might be, like Murad and everything like that. What he says may be true, but I think at this point, Murad also has confirmation bias, and like he's married to this idea of the meme super cycle, and like no data is going to sway him from that. I can see what he's saying, but I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that memes have had their best time of this cycle already. Possibly, I don't know. We'll see. But I think those three are the main narrative. So some AI projects I like talking about the top projects. Top narrative. TARS AI is, I would say, it's the top AI project on Solana, and it's held up pretty well during these market conditions. If you look at its chart. They have a lot of YouTubers making videos about them. They got a grant from the Solana Foundation. They got pretty good partners. I think that TARS AI is a winner. One pick that I put out that had done great, and since it ran up so well, it's kind of been kind of stagnant, is AI Tech. And AI Tech is like they have a lot of things going on. They're building a data center in Europe, and they also have AI as a service. They have a marketplace, so they have a lot of utility within the project, like a lot of things going on. And they had a great run up when AI went good, and then since then it's been pretty stagnant. But I think that it has a lot of potential. I mean, all these things that they're doing, if they integrate their token into it, sounds like a winner to me. But just because something has great fundamentals doesn't mean it's always going to work out. Another project AI related I like is Astra AI. I think they have a lot going on. Yep, that one right there. And I actually got into that one at a 300K market cap, and it's been over 30 million recently. Even it's had some success and showed some strength, and it's held up pretty well when everything else was not doing so well.
No, I mean, all things considered, for it being $12 million market cap, and yeah, recently over 30, it's holding up quite well.
Yeah, and Palm AI, I think that's okay. That's another one I found below $1 million market cap that we hit 100x on that one. I think it's okay. If you're looking for like maybe something a little more stable, I think Or AI, it was out last cycle. I think that it can do good this cycle. Spectral AI on Base and ETH, I think it's okay. It's more of it does have VC money in it, but I think that it can do pretty good as well. Yeah, that one right there. I think that it can do okay. Like I said, it does have VC money in it, but
sometimes VC, that can be a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's pros and cons to it. Then with gaming, I like Medicaid a lot. Like I said a minute ago, I think Medicaid is definitely a top gaming project on Base. Like I said, the tokenomics about it, and I know the founder really well. They are just always doing something. Like they are trying to stay ahead of the market. They go to all the events, all over the world. There's a gaming crypto event. They're going to be there. They do a lot, and I like Medicaid. I think Medicaid is going to continue to be a winner.
Are they going to be in East Denver?
Well. Say again.
Are they going to be at ETH Denver?
Say what's that?
Are they going to be at ETH Denver this month?
Yeah. Yep. They sure are.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to
Because
go
one of the guys
check
from the
them out.
team, yeah, one of the guys reached out to me. He told me I should go. Then I saw it was like February 23rd. I was like, I don't know if I can make that, and it's fairly short notice. But
It's
yeah,
actually the
that's
last week of February. They might have said that because like industry week is the week before, but the
there you go.
conference doesn't actually start until the last Thursday of the month.
Okay. I might check it out and see if I can swing it.
Yeah, if you end up going, let me know. You were just talking about karate. I'll get you VIP tickets to the karate combat fight too.
Cool. Yeah, I can go out there and shield Chuck, try to get Chuck back kickstarted. Some other game projects I like, Medicaid, I just explained all the reason I like that. And like I talked about chains and ecosystems, I would say OTK is the top gaming project on Solana.
Yep.
So for that reason alone, I like it. I don't think it's like the best overall gaming project. I think it's fine. And I liked it at the end of 2023. And then I kind of heard some news that like maybe some ETH projects, gaming projects, were going to bridge to Solana. So I kind of pumped the brakes. I held what I had, but I didn't buy any more. But that never materialized over 2024. So now I'm back in OTK, and I've been DCAing it and buying it some. So I think OTK for that reason. Corpo World, QORPO. I like them. And it's got a fairly respectable market cap, like a low market cap. It's the quality of the games that they have that I think are good. QORPO.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, Corpo World. Yeah, their gaming quality is good, and the market cap's pretty low.
Definitely.
I still like Playable Games. Playable Games is something I was in on from the launch, and they did great. Like when we came out of the gate in October, Playable Games was one of the so the code is like 3ULL. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen this before, I think.
Mm-hmm. They came out the gate in when we came out the bear market, and it was like one of the biggest gainers out there. And then, it went up so much, it's kind of been stagnant like most gaming. But they're coming out with 25 games this year. They are on AVAX, and they have their own chain. I've watched lots of interviews with one of the main devs. His name's Old Bull. I like what he says. So I think Playable can still do pretty well. I did like Games for a Living. I was in that on the launch too, and it looked like a winner. They had a great team. They still got a great team, but they have just not materialized. I'm not as big on Games for a Living now as I was. I still hold some, but I've scaled back and put it in other projects. Yeah, they had some games, and since then they're doing something with like these digital, I don't know, like digital jewels or something. I don't know. It just seems weird. I don't know. I don't like it. But it seemed like there was one more I was gonna mention. Naka. Yeah, Naka. I think
Nakamoto. Yep.
Yeah. So Naka is one of the only projects I hold that's in its second cycle. I think Naka, I do think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to be a fairly good winner this cycle. But I've actually heard some negative things kind of behind the scenes about Naka. And I think that it started out the gate strong, and I've kind of diversified out of Naka some too. It's kind of like Games for a Living. I still hold a bag, but I have diversified Naka into other things. I think that I heard some things about Naka being propped up by whales, and that they really haven't been developing much. And then their latest, whether it was an app or a game or something like that, was pretty underwhelming. Like the Medicaid team said they'd never seen him at any of the events or anything. So I don't know. I'm a little not as big on Naka, but I still think it. Overall, as long as we get a good cycle, it'll do okay.
Yeah, it always seems to bounce back. I've been several of the ones that you mentioned I've been familiar with a while. Like I bought the top of Octa back in 2024 or whatever. The beginning of 2024, bought the top of that. We picked Naka as a winner in Patreon in 2023, I think it was, towards the end of 2023, and then it had to run up at the end of the year. But I'm not familiar with some of these. I'll definitely have to go check them out. I haven't paid any attention to Naka in a while. every once in a while I still see somebody mention it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that project exists. But I haven't heard
Right.
some of the other stuff. And you're right. I've been last year. I went to like 9 conferences, and I've never seen Naka at any of them. You
There
know.
you go. And it's on Polygon too. They need to get on base. And I know they're widely listed and stuff like that. But even if you're widely listed on exchanges, the chain you're on does matter. And we talked about earlier in the stream that Polygon is just tumbleweeds. It's dead. So I think that goes against them some too.
Yeah, I
Um,
totally
then
agree.
then you got RWA. One that I've liked, been in since the bear market, Rio. I think Rio's a winner. Rio and Naka are like two of the only things I hold that are in their second market cycle. Besides some of the legacy crypto like Link and Doge and stuff, I got some of that, and BTC and ETH, obviously. But for more of the DGen plays, Naka and Rio are two of the only ones I have in the second cycle. So I think Rio will be a winner. The dilution isn't too bad. It's spread out over a long period of time. So I think that Rio is a pretty solid winner. Talking about chains and stuff like that, I think Parcel is the top RWA project on Solana. PRCL.
Oh yeah, PRCL. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Now I think Solana hasn't showed as much promise with RWA. Like I don't know as much RWA will be focused on Solana. I think it's more like ETH and Base. But I think that just it's still on Solana, and that's still where so much liquidity and volume is, and everything like that. So I like those two, and then I like two more DGen ones, lower cap ones that I'll throw out there on base. One is VIS, and it's kind of like AI and RWA. Yeah, that one. Like it's $2 million market cap. Like I said, it's a lower cap. But the lower cap, the more it can explode. So I like this one, and I like LBM, and that's got like $1 million-something market cap, and it's on base as well. That one, name is under $1 million now.
You have
Yeah.
920.
So the market conditions we're in right now, but I think that can do pretty well. So out of the three major narratives, those are a few projects that I like and have been picking up.
Yeah, no, definitely some good picks. I actually though there's only one of those RWA projects I'm familiar with, Rio, and I'll have to dive into the other ones. I agree with you that RWA is going to be massive this cycle.
Mhm.
I think DPIN's going to start to make a presence this cycle, but I don't think it's truly going to be until like next cycle that we actually see DPIN come to fruition. But I'm big on AI and RWAs for this cycle for sure. I like gaming projects. I just always seem to lose on them, so I've
Yeah.
stopped. So
And there's some bigger caps out there for RWA. I mean, like obviously, I mean Ondo, everybody knows about that. And Trump, I think Eric Trump has had some ties talking about Ondo. But the market cap's already kind of big. If you look at the Ondo chart, it's went up so much already. It kind of reminds me a little like Caspa. Like it went up a lot, and then people were just like, "Well, this thing's just going to keep, going forever." And eventually, people will start making profit. And if you got people that are up like so many X's, like in tens and hundreds of X's, then they have more market impact when they sell. But it depends on your your risk tolerance, and if you're looking for higher caps and lower caps, if you want less risk and volatility, Ondo probably do fine.
yeah, I mean they're launching securities on their chain already. I think you can trade Nvidia, Apple. I don't know. There's a bunch of other stuff. It's actually not available to U.S. residents because
Mhm.
that's what the point of it is, to open it up to non-U.S. residents. But there's a bunch of them on there. Ondo's probably a pretty safe play, but of course we're talking about RWAs. I've got to talk about my favorite
Yeah,
RWA play.
Big Red. Yeah, and I like that too. I like them too.
Yep. And
Mhm.
just a little bit of news on them before we close out the show. The trainer that they actually work with, got an article written on about him, calling him Alexander the Great, and how they're the greatest trainer in horse racing and all that other stuff. And also their other horse, Namiria, is starting to get into training again and racing soon here. And they will be stakes races. So these are bigger races and everything. And she is smoking her stablemates. I don't know. I'm new to horses. I like crypto, but it's pretty cool stuff. So looking forward to that. No race this week, though, I don't think. So those of you that are hoping to see me in the Telegram tonight watching the race, I don't think there is one. So,
yeah. And like you're saying about DPIN, DPIN should do, because DPIN is basically like real world use cryptos. And because people are always like, what does it do? So you would think DPIN would be like a real top narrative, but it hasn't really worked out. And lots of DPIN projects, they kind of maybe overlap into another narrative too. Everybody knows about Peak, obviously. It's kind of like Ondo. Like Peak would kind of be like the Ondo of DPIN. Natix, that's the top DPIN on Solana. So I like it pretty well. There's a privacy project I like called Mask, MASQ, and it did good in the bear market. It came out like the end of last cycle, and I would kind of classify that as DPIN because that has real world use. It's like you download a browser and it's more secure than Tor or a VPN, and you can use the token to keep the net. Like you earn mass by giving your bandwidth to the network, and you pay mass for using it a little bit or whatever. So I think that, it's got good type of tokenomics all on circulating supply. The team's great and stuff like that. So those are a couple little deep, Peak, Natix, and, if you want to count Mask, I kind of count Mask as deep in. So those are a couple deep in plays that may do okay.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with Peak. I had the chance to interview them. I believe it was in Singapore. Really cool team. Scott Foo's awesome. They're doing some cool stuff. They are easily the biggest DPIN for sure. And we've got a lot of interesting stuff going on. And the team's got some huge background in everything they're trying to do as well. So, their chart doesn't reflect it like just about everything else right now, but definitely a solid pick. I have to agree there for.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that it'll do well. I mean, I don't think you get 100x off Peak or Ondo or anything like that, but you don't want everything in your bag to be below 10 mil market cap. You want some solid things to hedge your bets.
Yeah, definitely. We do have a question that we could probably throw an opinion on. Thoughts on Virtual? I mean, they just did they added on to Solana as well. So they'll be launching AI agents on Solana now. My opinion on Virtual.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my opinion when it comes to virtuals and AI agents in general is right now they're kind of a fad. We need to see real use cases out of them before we start to see that hype train pick back up. It was like a 1 month ordeal and it kind of sucked everything out of all the other AI projects and just made a lot of noise. I think it's definitely got a place. I like a lot of AI agents and I think they're really interesting, but I think we need to see more value before this is actually grasped and grown better.
Yeah, I think the infrastructures, like the AI agent infrastructure ones like that are making the AI agents, not the agents themselves, are the better plays. And I think virtuals, and I think Griffin, that's another one I could have said. It's on Solana. I think that those are two a little bit higher cap that are good good plays. Well, there was one other I thought of. What was it? So many of them out there. Oh yeah, there's one on Solana called Max that it came out the gate hot. Somebody in my Telegram knew about it, and it printed massive gains. And then obviously as sell off, pull back, and then the market's been like shit. So, but I think it could come back maybe. It's a little bit more of a degen one, but Max on Solana is an AI infrastructure play that may have some potential.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to
check
that
out.
one. Yeah.
It's weird because it's made by like Orachain or AI, but it's on Solana.
I think I found it here. I think it's this one.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. 14 mil market cap. It's actually up 10% today too. Yeah,
it went up to like 200 mil, I think.
Oh, did it really? Oh,
it came out the gate hot. It came out printing big green bars, and then obviously something goes up that much, can't sustain that.
Yeah, need to look at this the right way because now I'm curious. Coinbase doesn't show the history, and it just shows when it got added on it. So
exactly when it got added on there. Yep.
Let's see. Let's go to the daily. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
And this is right where Coinbase not Coinbase. CoinMarketCap, right where they added it on. But
somebody on my Telegram knew about it like before the big green candles.
oh, really? Nice.
So that was a massive gain. Yeah.
I need to get more active in there. I'm missing out. But that is, Ron, it's been an awesome show. I've really enjoyed having you on, and definitely would like to do it again sometime. Maybe we'll do another show where we dig into these projects instead of just going over them briefly quick. That could be a lot of fun. I think, you have a lot of really valuable insights in the space and some great technical knowledge as well. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. It was a lot of fun for me. And I definitely suggest that everybody, you go into the description, and you go to Ron's Twitter, follow him, put those notifications on. He doesn't tweet a whole lot, so you'll be able to just know when he's putting out content or new ideas or thought processes. And hey, maybe you'll want to go end up joining his Telegram too. There's a ton of people in there, and it's a nice, good community. I like it.
Appreciate that, Josh. Really had a good time. I just looked at it. We were talking an hour and 10 minutes. Seemed like 30 minutes. I can ramble about this stuff all day. So I can always get on spaces or streams or whatever, and I'll never run out of things to talk about when it comes to crypto. This is pretty much my life. So,
Totally feel that. I live and breathe this stuff, and then I sleep it too. I'm ready to go to bed, and I just dream about crypto. But yeah, also, guys, I will be back tomorrow on Thursday with yet another show. This show will be at, let me check my calendar because it's not my show. Blake will be back tomorrow with another show, but I will be on it with him, and that will be at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Standard Time, or Eastern Standard Time. So we'll be back live on Alpha First for that. And then, of course, Friday night, I will be back on Cryptos Are Us, so you guys can check me out over there. And then also, my next appearance on Alpha First is I'm starting a new show on Tuesdays. So Tuesday around 2 p.m. Central Time, you will also be able to find me here yet again. So more shows, more knowledge, more alpha, and more amazing guests. So Ron, we'll definitely have to have you on again in the future.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'd love to come on. Alpha First, baby.
Let's go. Yeah. So that's about all we have. You guys have yourself a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you on the flip side and get some gains, baby.